Ironing clothing seems less necessary than ever for many people, though it still has its benefits. Still, the question remains, is it time to pull the plug on the iron? We've identified 7 reasons that have contributed to the decline of the iron, and we'll jump in with our first, the popularity of garments that don't require an iron. It's no secret that menswear, and clothing in general, has experienced an increasing level of casualization over the past few decades and really over the course of the 20th century. And along with this casualization, garments that don't regularly need ironing have been normalized. Think of things here like t-shirts, jeans, or athleisure wear. Even if these are made of natural materials as opposed to synthetics, they typically don't require as much ironing in order to look good. I'm sure somebody out there has ironed a hoodie before, but it's safe to say that it doesn't happen much. Conversely though, many of the garments that are associated with classic style do look best when they're pressed. After all, sharply defined cuffs and creases are some of the more elegant features that can exist on a garment like chinos. Even Dr. Dre agrees.
Still rock my khakis with a cuff and a crease.
And most dress shirts do look sharper when properly ironed. So, if you're a classic style devotee, you're much more likely to be wearing clothing that requires ironing. And even if you don't consider yourself as firmly within the classic style camp as we at GG are, many of the garments in your more formal wardrobe, like dress shirts, trousers, and suit jackets, will look better when ironed. Even if you don't wear garments like these all of the time, they should still look their best when you do. This brings us on nicely then to list item number 2, wrinkle-resistant and non-iron fabrics. The increasing popularity of these kinds of fabrics does raise the question, if they don't need to be ironed, what's the point of owning an iron in the first place? Many of the most popular shirt providers on the market today, like Brooks Brothers, Charles Tyrwhitt, and Eaton, have very aggressively marketed their non-iron shirts in the last few years. And while these shirts may save you some time in the maintenance area, it is important to remember that wrinkle-resistant doesn't mean wrinkle-free. In other words, many shirts that are sold as being wrinkle-resistant will still look better when ironed. The collar and cuffs of these shirts will typically look acceptable no matter what, but the body of the shirt is still more likely to develop some wrinkling. Even Eaton, which makes a very impressive wrinkle-resistant fabric, still has this problem with their shirts. But, ironically, the treatments used to make shirts like these more wrinkle-resistant can also make them more difficult to iron. This is because these treatments can restrict the individual movement of the fibers. Talk about the worst of both worlds. Also, most non-iron shirts are typically made from synthetic fabrics and/or treated with chemical processes. In either case, these might make wrinkles seem like the least of your worries. These treatments can ruin the pleasing hand and drape that comes with a shirt made from natural materials. And many rely on chemicals like formaldehyde, essentially shellacking the fabric, making it stiff and uncomfortable. And who wants chemicals put directly against their skin? Over time, these treatments can come off of the shirt, which not only sheds microplastics into the environment, but also ends up leading to the shirts being more susceptible to wrinkles. So, while having a few well-made, wrinkle-resistant shirts from respected retailers on hand for things like travel does make sense, by and large, for the longevity, feel, and environmental benefits, we think it doesn't make sense to have these non-iron shirts constitute the majority of your wardrobe. Next is item number 3, less explicit cultural judgment based on appearance. Because of shifting societal values and notions of how much pride someone ought to put into their appearance, it's assumed that people today are much less likely to be judged in any meaningful way by a wrinkled shirt, since many people won't have enough understanding of the practice to even consciously notice it to begin with. And a romanticization of the Silicon Valley ethos of disheveled but hyper-competent has spread into other fields of business as well. The reality is, though, that a polished appearance will still positively influence others and give you a stronger chance of making a good first impression with them, even if they can't quite put their finger on why. There's just something about a freshly pressed garment that exudes class, capability, and cool. That feeling will likely resonate with you, too, and boost your own self-confidence in the process. Conversely, though, appearing unkempt or slovenly in a wrinkled shirt isn't going to do your appearance any favors. And it will, for most people, adversely affect how they perceive you, especially if they don't know you already. In simplest terms here, if you can choose, it's always better to be the guy in the ironed shirt than in the wrinkled shirt. Next, we come to number 4, the increasing popularity of alternative tools. Because of negative assumptions about irons, alternative tools like garment steamers have become increasingly popular in recent years. Steamers are widely believed to be easier to use and are, in fact, the better choice for certain garments and situations. But they're not ideal for all garments, especially for laundered shirts. This is because the shirts will lose that crispness that comes from putting pressure onto the fabric. Similarly, steamers also aren't ideal for putting a crease into trousers, as additional pressure is required here, too, to set that crease. This can be mitigated somewhat by the use of supplementary gadgets like steamer mitts, and by the way, if you'd like to see us tackle some content on those, let us know in the comments. But in general, steamers are better when you have to do some light touch-up work on a garment rather than a more serious or involved job. For example, if you'd like to remove some light wrinkles when a garment is fresh out of the dryer, then a steamer would be a good choice. And steamers can sometimes even be preferred when handling more delicate garments like a jacket. After all, an inexperienced hand with an iron can risk damaging the canvas or other materials that go into a jacket. But a steamer isn't a catch-all item in this case either, as overuse of a steamer can loosen a jacket's seams, making them wear down or even wear out sooner. In most cases, then, you'll benefit from owning both an iron and a steamer, and I'll tell you more about the best-case scenarios for each implement in this video. Number 5 on our list today is perceived investment issues. Despite their utility, there is a perception that irons simply aren't worth the investment in terms of both money and space. But if you're going to invest in high-quality clothes, you should also invest in high-quality tools to care for those clothes. And a well-made iron and ironing board should last you for decades, providing excellent cost per use. By the way, you can find some purchasing suggestions in our video on essential ironing tools. As mentioned though, ironing boards do require a certain amount of space, which can potentially be a turn-off if you don't have a premium on space in your living quarters, or if you're trying to fit an ironing board into a tight area. However, technological advancements have been made, and space-saving ironing boards do exist today. So, an iron and ironing board may be more economical than you initially realized. And can you really put a price on the feel of a perfectly ironed shirt? Since I ironed the shirt I'm wearing in today's video, I feel like $1 million. The shirt in question is a short-sleeved sport shirt with a button-down collar from Charles Tyrwhitt. It features a grid pattern in tones of blue and pink on a white ground. So, to harmonize with the shirt, the rest of the elements in my outfit are also following this color palette. This would include my trousers in plain medium blue, and my shoes, which are navy blue suede loafers from the brand Henry Stevens. My socks are from our own brand, Fort Belvedere. They're two-toned shadow stripes in pink and gray. And for a fragrance today, I'm wearing what else but blue suede shoes from the Roberto Ugolini collection. You can find the socks and the fragrance that I'm wearing today in our Fort Belvedere shop, but more on that later. First, let's move on to the penultimate item on today's list, number 6, the belief that ironing just isn't worth it. Even if you've been persuaded that there are benefits to the iron, as we've hopefully communicated by all of the list points so far, you may still be under the impression that the time investment necessary to iron all of your clothes well just means that it isn't worth it in the long run. But ironing does have many benefits that add up over time. Not only will your clothes look better when ironed, but they'll also look better in the long term. Regular ironing prevents the setting in of creases that can become stress points over time. Garments will fray, split, or come apart at the creases if they're allowed to get worse. Splitting under the armpits and around the crotch has been the death of many good shirts and trousers, of course. Ironing can even help reduce the shrinking of clothing via the compression of fibers over time. The heat and steam from an iron, as well as the pressure, essentially help to relax these compressed garments, keeping them true to their original sizes. It's also crucial to use an iron if you want to wear natural, lightweight materials. High-quality cotton and linen are some of the best choices to wear in the warmer months to keep you cool, but they're also susceptible to wrinkling. And while it is inevitable that some wrinkling will happen with these materials over the course of a day of wear, it's still better to iron them periodically than to not bother in the first place. Yes, you could always have your dry cleaners iron or press your clothes, but this gets expensive over time. And the industrial tools used by these services aren't going to be ideal for your delicate garments and aren't going to be beneficial for most garments long term. This is one of many reasons why it's best to only send your clothes to the dry cleaners when absolutely necessary. So you can save some money and extend the life of your clothes, as well as many other benefits, by simply ironing them yourself. Finally, here we come to item number 7, a perceived lack of time or knowledge among many. Some may claim that they simply don't have the time or know how to iron well, since it does require at least a baseline of knowledge and technique, as well as some practice, in order to get the nuances of ironing down fully. And many of us are likely aware of some horror stories that have resulted from improperly pressing shirts or pants. And of course, irons do get hot, so you might simply be afraid of burning yourself. But there's no need to fear, as we've prepared an expansive, multi-part series on exactly how to iron. This series starts with relatively simple tasks like ironing a shirt and ramps up to more complex tasks like ironing a suit jacket. By following our simple step-by-step instructions then, and picking up on the many tips we've learned over years of experience, you'll be ironing like a pro in no time. So then, to answer the main question of today's video, do we think that the iron is dead? Well, while it is true that not every person on the planet will necessarily need to own or regularly use an iron today, it's also true that the vast majority of people will still benefit from owning one, or at least having access to one. And of course, this is especially true if you're interested in classic style. So, cancel the funeral, as the rumors of the death of the iron have been greatly exaggerated. Let us know in the comments below if you agree with us that the iron isn't dead, or if you disagree, in which case I should probably get my black suit pressed for the funeral.